Supposedly 97% of Americans own a cell phone, and 85% of them have smartphones. The figures aren't much different elsewhere in the world. So we can all be in touch all the time, right? Have you thought about what happens if you really, really need to be and you simply can't? Could be a disaster. Stick around and we'll look at that. Hi, I'm Gary. I make videos on technical subjects that interest me, and hopefully you'll find them interesting or informative also. I'm mostly relating my own experiences, so if you're looking for detailed comparative reviews of the latest technology, you probably need to look elsewhere. I apologize for starting out with numbers, but here's a fact. The biggest cell phone providers only cover about half of the land area of the U.S. Now, if you never leave the city or get off the interstate, you may not care. But I live in the West and I like to camp and explore, so I care, and it's possible you should also. I recently made a video on Native American rock art in Utah. As a point of information, almost none of the sites shown in that video have cell phone coverage, even at the trailheads leading to them. Some have no coverage within 20 miles or more. San Juan County in southeast Utah is almost as big as New Jersey, and the cell phone coverage maps are wildly optimistic. Outside of the few towns, you probably won't be calling anybody. Suppose you take a casual hike and twist your ankle, or your car won't start when you're ready to head back to town. Uh-oh. You do have emergency road service, right? Who are you going to call? Surprise, you probably aren't. Is there a solution for this? One possibility is to invest in a cell phone booster. Some of them are affordable, some not so much. They can turn a weak signal into a usable one. What they can't do is turn no signal into something. And the good ones require some kind of installation with an antenna outside your car. Not to mention, you can't carry it with you if you're out of the car. So for me at least, that's not the answer. Of course, you can also be really careful to tell someone exactly where you're going and when you expect to be back, which is a good idea anyway, but that assumes you know exactly where you're going to be and when you will return, which is pretty restrictive for most people, even if they have a responsible person to tell. And nobody wants to panic only to find out there wasn't an emergency after all. So the person you told may delay doing anything for a while. The alternative I chose is a satellite communicator. This is not a satellite phone, which will work almost anywhere, but comes with very high costs both to buy and to operate. This is a little electronic gadget that will allow you to contact someone if you have an emergency, or at least a real need. If you're like me, your initial response is probably, I don't need one of those. That was certainly what I thought. Until one, my SUV showed a tendency not to start once in a while, for reasons I couldn't figure out, and two, my wife quit hiking with me because of knee problems. Suddenly the possibility of being stranded was no longer so very, very remote. So I bought one. You can find YouTube videos reviewing and comparing them. I'm not going to tell you mine is for sure the best. It's just the one I chose. The most popular ones are made by Garmin, and they make a lot of different models. I like Garmin. I own 5 or 6 Garmin GPS units, and my wife and I both have Garmin GPS watches. You might guess correctly that I like to know where I am. However, I bought a Zoleo instead. That's a Zoleo. Because I liked their subscription options and the features of their app better. The fundamental function of all these devices is to send an SOS if you're in a real emergency situation. They all communicate with a worldwide satellite network, and if you push the SOS button, that thing right there, some emergency response system will react, at least at some point in time. But I hope never to use that feature, and it doesn't seem particularly appropriate for my car failing to start. The nice thing about the Zoleo smartphone app, which links to the device by Bluetooth, no internet needed, is that you can send and receive text messages or emails, for a fee, of course. So I can text someone who can phone the roadside assistance folks, or just text my wife when I'll be back. It's not just a security blanket, it actually is a communicator. On the camping trip I just came back from, it let me stay in touch with my family who were coming to camp with me. I could send them my exact location, which they could even see on a map, and we traded texts about the weather, which was a bit threatening. I also got a weather forecast on the device, which is kind of a nice feature. And I subscribed to the tracking service that lets me send my location automatically at intervals I choose to whoever is on that list. If I'm hiking and twist my ankle or break my leg or whatever, they'll know where and when I quit moving. Here's the big question. Does this thing actually work? Yes, in my experience it does. There are some possible drawbacks. It needs open sky to connect with the satellites. If you're in deep woods, it's more difficult. But in the mostly open western U.S., no problem. And secondly, you do have to plan ahead. You can't activate the device without internet access, and I haven't been able to change or update my contact list without it either. Furthermore, texts are not cheap, and the basic subscription plan only includes a few per month. If you're used to an unlimited texting phone plan, this may seem expensive, but I haven't yet reached the level of even my cheap cell phone plan, so consider what you're paying for. I haven't tried the SOS function. You can schedule a test of it if you're doubtful. I haven't, because it's not actually my primary interest in the device. The app does let the Emergency Response Center trade text with you or your contacts, so they know what kind of emergency you actually have. As an aside, I lost my Zoleo on a backcountry road near the Grand Canyon. Someone found it, and the company actually phoned me to see about putting me in touch with the finder. I had already replaced it by then, but I think that says something about their tech support. So, do you need one of these? That's up to you. I just wanted to point out to those of you who would probably skip right over those YouTube reviews that it might be worth considering. In any event, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a like for the video. See you on the next video, I hope.